You know those cheap knockoff toys you find at the dollar store? Some look legit while others didn't even try. This is also the case with bootleg games, copycat games that breach copyright. Be it the imagery of a character or attempting a console port, some developers really tried hard, while some really hardly tried. Before we begin, don't forget to like and subscribe, because these are our top 10 cringiest bootleg games. Is it Sonic? Is it Mario? No, it's Somari! You can't talk about bootleg games and not talk about Somari, one of the most well-known bootlegs to this day. But for those of you out there that don't know about it yet, in 1994, the Hummer team developed Somari the Adventurer for the NES, a pirated port of Sonic the Hedgehog for the Sega Genesis. Though instead of playing as Sonic, you play as Mario, Somari. It's like if Sonic and Mario had a Dragon Ball Z style fusion. It looks like Mario and has the abilities of Sonic, and is terribly sluggish and awkward. Unlike the original Sonic game, Somari was able to spin dash, a move only introduced in Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Later in official remasters of the original Sonic, the move was added as well. I guess the developers of the bootleg were onto something. Though the developers did a good job of recreating the original game with some new features, this is still a bootleg. The coding has its flaws with glitches and weird physics, which makes the game extra challenging to finish. But we won't call it a bug, we can call it the extra hard difficulty feature. It's been 106 years since the RMS Titanic sank. What's the best way to remember and relive this historic event in a way that honors and respects all people involved? Create a game full of romance, beautiful cutscenes, and beating the crap out of everyone and everything on board. Yes, you heard that right. Another hit by the Hummer team is Titanic, very cleverly renamed to avoid trademark infringement. Please note, in some versions they even disable the title screen and cutscenes. Just like the movie, it follows the story of Jack and Rose, though this time they pay attention to the things that really matter in life. No time to get it on in a car when you gotta beat the crap out of rats, bats, and snakes. Because why not? Everyone's gonna die anyway. Sorry, spoilers. You can choose to play as Jack or Rose, but you have to finish the game with both characters to get the credits. Titanic is technically unfinished though, and like its namesake, a total wreck. Harry Potter, the boy who lived. It all started out as writings on a napkin, and now we have books, movies, plays, and of course games. Lots of games. We admit some of those games are better than others, but none of them is quite as unique as Harry's Legend. Okay, maybe the game's not that original, it's another game by the Hummer team, and it's basically a pimped up wreck of Titanic. The game starts out like the first book, but it soon gets a bit weird. Or maybe a lot. First of all, Harry is super ripped for an 11-year-old boy and starts off by beating the shit out of his cousin and uncle. Nice. The violence doesn't stop there either. No one is safe from Harry the Legend Potter. Not on the Hogwarts Express, and not in Hogwarts either. Just like Jack and Rose, Harry has some pent-up anger as he kicks and punches everything in his way. Even the chess pieces are not safe. As you can guess, there's a lot of things that don't make sense in this game, such as Harry playing volleyball and pong against an old lady. And there's also a distinct lack of magic. We guess it's now Hogwarts, the school of uppercuts and dropkicks. Don't you miss the old Windows interface? That old school maze screensaver? Wish you could use it one more time? Well, in the year 2000, Bei Tong Fong thought for some reason it was a good idea to make a bootleg of Microsoft Windows 98 for the Famicom. At first glance, it seems like the real deal, but quickly it becomes apparent that none of the programs actually work, not even the calculator. And as there is no sound, don't bother with the useless volume bar. I guess it's still better than Windows Vista. With the D-pad, you can click on the pictograms and open up some images. Though just a complete novelty item and not really a game, it was still worth a mention that someone actually took the time to make a Windows emulator for the Famicom. Just like Somari should be mentioned, Pokemon Vietnamese Crystal should be as well. There are a lot of Pokemon bootlegs floating around. A lot of them are weird or just don't make any sense at all. But this is the best Pokemon bootleg we've seen. The origin is a bit vague, and a lot of people speculate that someone translated the original game from Japanese to Chinese, and then to English. Needless to say, some of the translations aren't quite what they're supposed to be, with the casual F-bomb in there and some very creative and not so creative names for the Pokemon. And of course, incomprehensible English. If this game taught us anything, it's that Professor Oak demands to be called Elf Monster. The Panda Prince is a bootleg of a bootleg. It is the bootleg of Donkey Kong Country 4, which is a bootleg of Donkey Kong Country. I guess the developers of Shin Shin Electronics were fans of Donkey Kong, and liked pandas a lot too. I mean, who can blame them? They're super cute. That being said, this is truly a gem among bootlegs, nay, among all video games. Panda Prince has the best controls, which are in no way frustratingly difficult to use. And if the controls don't give you a hard enough challenge, don't fret. The game has some of the best graphics in history. This is not annoying at all. This is totally not annoying at all. But wait, there's more. These controls and brilliant graphics are nothing compared to the wonderful soundtrack. Everyone who has played this game can agree that the soundtrack is the best part of the game. A true gem, 10 out of 10 would recommend. Kart Fighter was released for the Famicom in 1994. It's a fighting game with the characters from Mario Kart, the engine of Street Fighter 2, and the graphics and music from Mario. You can either play against the AI or in a versus mode. There are 8 playable characters in the game, and it might look like their names are misspelled. I mean, it's a bootleg after all. But their names are actually their original Japanese names. Though we don't know why Peach has black hair. Maybe she's going through a phase? And I know what you're thinking. What is so special about a fighting game with Mario Kart characters? Isn't that just Super Smash Bros? Yes, that might be true. But this bootleg appeared in 1994, while the first Smash game wasn't released until 1999. So in some way, Smash is a bootleg of Kart Fighter. There are a lot of games that have characters from different franchises in the same game, but World Heroes 2 takes it to a different level. While having Mario and Sonic in the same game is not unique, the game also has characters from Street Fighter, Final Fight, Fatal Fury, Dragon Ball, and even Leonardo from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Not only are the characters taken from different games, the developers also used music and graphics from numerous other games too. This is not so much a bootleg as it is a collage of other game assets. Imagine a game where the Ninja Turtle theme plays, and Mario shoots a Hadouken at Goku in the land of Sonic. This game is the dream you didn't know you needed. Here is a bootleg from Mother Russia, Mario 3 Around the World. For a game that is called Around the World, Mario goes to a surprisingly few amount of places. More precisely, 3. Egypt, the Aztec ruins, and the Arctic. I mean, you still have to go around the world to see all of these places, so it's not wrong. Just like how half the world doesn't exist in this game, physics doesn't either. And let's not even start on how awful the jumping is, which wouldn't be that much of a problem if this weren't a platformer. Oh, and get used to that questionable scream every time you fall. It's definitely not Mario. Talking about the level design, some blocks are placed in such a way that you can't even get to the item inside. I mean, it doesn't even make him grow anyways, so what's the point? At least it looks a bit like a real Mario game though, such as the fact that there are lots of pipes and Mario can collect coins. Though unless you keep count yourself, you have no clue how many you've collected. There is no HUD, and if you collect 100, you still get an extra life, which you have no idea how many you have because there is no HUD. Who needs a HUD anyway? And the music is quite dope actually, and if you don't like it, you can just hit a brick and the music will stop itself anyways. Some of the enemies are so done with the game that they literally throw themselves off the platforms. Much like we are now too. So we already talked about Pokemon Vietnamese Crystal and that there are many other Pokemon bootlegs out there, but one other needed to be mentioned, the Pikachu Nightmare. Just like the title suggests, this game is a total nightmare. This game is a bootleg of Smurf's Nightmare, which is why Pikachu looks like a Smurf in a Pikachu onesie. The kitchen level looks really creepy, and not at all what you'd expect for something that's based on a children's game. The red stains on the wall look disturbingly like blood, and the food in the bowls could be easily mistaken for hearts and intestines. If this had not already sold you to the idea of playing the game, maybe we should mention the walking sausage enemies. As soon as our derpy Pika Smurf encounters one of these creepy sausages or other enemies, the game starts to lag terribly. And you guys thought Max Payne invented bullet time? If you think these games look fun, be sure to check out one of the numerous Disney bootleg games too, such as The Lion King 2, which is set in China for some reason, or Lion King 5, which has some very non-Disney game over screens. And you can also check out Toy Story, or should we say Toy Story. As there are many bootleg games out there, we're sure we missed some. What is the weirdest bootleg game you've come across?